Today I'm sharing 5 things I've stopped eating to help me lose 20 pounds as a nutritionist. Earlier this year, I had my first baby and I had gained a total of 38 pounds throughout my pregnancy. Now, obviously the first half of this weight loss occurred within roughly the first week or so after having Sage. But over the last couple months, I've been focusing on balancing my nutrient intake to help support breastfeeding while also helping me to achieve my weight loss goals. And to achieve that balance, there are some things I've stopped eating for the time being. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Kettle and Fire. More on them in a bit. Now, I'm still currently on my postpartum weight loss journey. I have a little bit higher body fat percentage and a little lower muscle mass than what my goal is, but by eating enough of the right types of foods, minimizing or removing the foods that don't work for my goals, I've been able to make significant progress so far. I'll have a full video update on that in the future, but I've been able to do all of that without feeling hungry or deprived. Now, of course, the first few days of removing some of these items that I'm going to go through is always the hardest, typically because they can be a bit addictive, but now I don't even really think about it because I'm so satisfied with my meals. I enjoy them so much and I'm not hungry that avoiding these foods that work against my weight loss goals isn't really a concern. Which, speaking of, that first one is popcorn. Now, popcorn is not something that I would eat on a regular basis, but it is definitely one of those dessert items that I will incorporate, especially on movie night. Popcorn is definitely a treat in our household, and it's one of those items that when we're in a bad habit rhythm, as we all can get into on the occasion, we're having it more frequently throughout the week after dinner. Now, although popcorn is definitely not the worst option when it comes to desserts, it's one that for me would definitely hold me back from achieving my goals. And that's because popcorn is very easy to eat a lot of. It doesn't raise our satiety hormones, it doesn't help to feel full and satisfied, and it mostly just contains starch that can raise blood sugar levels, especially with the amount of popcorn that most of us, myself included, will eat. Now, for now, I've stopped it cold turkey, but it's definitely not one that I'm removing for life, just while I'm working toward this weight loss goal and become a little bit less carb sensitive. The second are dates. Now, pre-pregnancy, I didn't really eat dates, but during pregnancy, especially toward the end of pregnancy, my midwives had me eat a lot of dates. That's because there is some research showing that eating dates could be helpful toward the end portion of pregnancy to help with labor. And to be fair, I had a very uncomplicated, fairly short 7-hour labor at home, very successful. Not sure if the dates really had any part in that, but I will definitely be doing that in the future just in case. But dates are very high in sugar and very high glycemic load. This means it has a huge impact on our blood sugar levels and really quickly raises it. The really fast rise in blood sugar levels can cause a really immediate drop, causing us to be hungry and hangry and crave more sugar. And each date has about 16 grams of sugar, so eating 3 to 4 dates per day, that can amount to an extra 48 to 64 grams of sugar per day. On the high end in terms of sugar, that's the equivalent of having roughly 2 cans of soda. So now that I have my daughter and I don't need to be having dates anymore, it's something that I've cut out. A key component of my weight loss journey is making sure that I'm always satisfied and not feeling hungry. That way I don't get sugar cravings that could work against my weight loss goals. This is the backbone of my YouTube channel, the backbone of my program, to make achieving weight loss and wellness goals so much easier and so much more enjoyable. Now, before we move on to tip number 3, one other additional sneaky hack to help increase satiety and reduce hunger is to add in collagen along with protein. And one of my favorite ways to do this is to get collagen from Kettle and Fire bone broth. Kettle and Fire is a really high quality bone broth company that slowly simmers the bones from grass-fed cows to make sure that they're getting as much collagen out of it as possible. When you use collagen-rich foods like Kettle and Fire bone broth in recipes that also have other complete sources of protein, it can help to really double down on the satiety perks of protein and help to even further reduce sugar cravings. I love adding Kettle and Fire bone broth into my recipes like my pumpkin sausage spaghetti squash pasta, or I'll use it in place of any recipes that call for either water or broth. That way I'm instantly adding in a significant source of collagen to any of my meals. Kettle and Fire comes in a ton of different flavors, so you can use it for any type of recipe, but my favorite is their original bone broth because it can really just be used in pretty much every single recipe. Plus, Kettle and Fire is just such an easy way to get high quality collagen-rich bone broth into meals without having to do the legwork of slowly simmering the bones for hours and hours on end. Being a new mom, I don't have time for that, so reaching into my pantry for a high quality bone broth is really helpful. And Kettle and Fire is offering my community 20% off their bone broths when you use code AUTUMNBAITS at checkout. So make sure you don't miss out and you can stock up on high quality collagen-rich Kettle and Fire bone broth. I'll also have the link down description below. Okay, the third are tortilla chips. Growing up in Southern California, Mexican food is kind of like our comfort food. We would order takeout and bring it to the beach, or we would go to the local Mexican restaurant. It was easily something we did multiple days throughout the week. And something that often comes along with that are chips and salsa or chips and guacamole. fully. Now, tortilla chips are so high glycemic load and they are so easy to eat a lot of. You really can't just have one tortilla chip. Now, we don't buy them at the house. It would be something that I would have on the occasion for like a treat meal on the weekend when we're having Mexican food when we got to eat. So right now, to help support my goals, I either make a point of asking the waiters or waitresses to please not bring the chips or to not add them into our takeout order, or we'll just go to other restaurants that don't have chips as an appetizer. Because for myself, chips can be a tough one. Okay, the fourth is granola. Now again, pre-pregnancy, I didn't really eat granola, but during pregnancy, I did have my fair share of it. And that's because my pregnancy nausea was through the roof. Anybody who's experienced that knows just how extreme and persistent it can be. And I really wanted to make sure I was optimizing for high quality foods and high quality proteins that would help support the growth of Sage. But sometimes the only way that I could sneak that in was if I then also paired it with something like granola. So it'd have like Greek yogurt and granola. And the more that you eat sugary foods, the more that your body starts to crave it. So after having granola throughout my pregnancy, I found myself starting to really crave it even after pregnancy, which also would lead to cravings for things that I haven't had cravings for in a really long time, like cereal. And granola is just not very satiating. It's essentially a starch covered in more sugar, and then sometimes even paired with high glycemic load dried fruit or chocolate chips. So instead, I've swapped out granola for a nutrient-dense grain-free alternative. It could be either store-bought or I've been making my own recently, which is like a combination of nuts and seeds. Okay, the fifth is bread. Now this is another item that I didn't eat a ton of pre-pregnancy, but sometimes I just had to have it because my nausea was so bad. I might have paired bread with cheese or meats just so I could physically get those proteins in. Now I would try and get some better options like Ezekiel bread, but regardless, it's still grains that are ground up into flours, which are much more easy for our body to absorb, which can lead to a higher blood sugar spike. And for myself, bread just led to more cravings for more bread. And I really don't want my weight loss journey to be an uphill battle of fighting cravings and hunger. So for myself, removing bread for the time being and using alternatives have been a better option for me. So I've swapped out bread for things like lettuce buns, which, oh my gosh, my Friday tradition lately has been going to our local burger shop called Shalhoubs. I think I'm pronouncing it right, or Shaloobs, not sure. And I get a double patty with pickles and a lettuce bun, and oh my gosh, it's so crunchy, so delicious, so good. Definitely don't even miss the bread. Now there are some foods I'm purposely adding in to help me achieve my weight loss and wellness goals postpartum. If you want to check those out, you can find that video right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.